All right, good morning, guys. I'm just doing this video here to fill everybody in on the 8A notes, particularly for ninth period, because and I'm not going to see you guys the next couple days. Um, so here's a video that's sort of comprehensive, that sort of goes over everything. Okay, a parallelogram is a quadrilateral that has two pairs of parallel sides. Okay, so we have two sides that are parallel here, and we have these two sides parallel down there. So those two sides are parallel. Those two sides are parallel. Okay. The other 8A video, we should notice a couple things. So one is these two pink, or this pink and purple line right here that I'm drawing are the diagonals of a parallelogram. All right. And what we should notice about the diagonals of a parallelogram is that they get split in half right in the middle right there, and they split each other in half. Okay. So what that means is they bisect each other. Okay. They bisect each other. They cut each other in half. Okay. Another thing we know, what we're going to see from the other video, is that opposite sides are going to be congruent to each other. Okay, so this side and this side are going to be congruent, and the two other sides, this side and that side, are going to be congruent. All right. Next thing in a parallelogram, we're going to notice that opposite angles are going to be congruent to each other. So what's going to happen is, this blue angle is going to be congruent to that blue angle, and this orange angle here is going to be congruent to that orange angle there. Okay, so opposite angles are going to be congruent to each other. All right. Now consecutive angles. Okay, so consecutive angles may be something like these two angles here, or those two angles there. Any angles that are next to each other in the thing are going to add up to 180. They're going to be supplementary. Okay, they're going to add up to 180. Okay, and the reason being, going back to Unit 3, we have parallel lines, and these angles here are consecutive interior angles, and these two angles there are consecutive interior angles. So they're going to add up to 180 degrees. Go back to the 3D notes if you need a refresher on why that is. Okay, so that's our rules just for parallelograms. All right, so that'll fill you in on all that stuff. All right. Um, all right. For the rectangles here, rectangles a parallelogram. All the angles of a rectangle are 90 degrees, and the diagonals are congruent to each other. Now, I must say that a rectangle is a parallelogram, meaning that it fits all these other rules. Okay, it fits all these rules here, but in addition, the angles of a rectangle are all 90 degrees, and the diagonals are congruent to each other. Okay. Last thing, if we have a rhombus is a parallelogram. So again, it fits the rules of a parallelogram, but all the sides are congruent. Okay. Now the diagonal. So if we have a rhombus here, let me just draw it up. Okay, so this side, this side, this side, this side are all equal. The angle at the diagonals is 90 degrees. Okay. So the diagonals are going to be perpendicular to each other. Now another thing that happens here, let's say we have a rhombus and this angle up here is 100 degrees. Okay, and this angle will also be 100 degrees as well. The diagonals are going to cut those angles in half, making this 150, this 150, this 150, and this 150. Okay, it doesn't necessarily do that in a parallelogram or a rectangle. All right, but if it's a rhombus where all the sides are equal and it's a parallelogram, then we have the 90-degree angle here, and the diagonals will bisect each angle of the rhombus. Okay, they'll cut each angle in half. So this angle over here being 80 makes this 40 and 40 there, just as an example. And we still have triangles here where the 90 and 40 and 50 degree angles add to 180 degrees. All right. The other 8A video has all this stuff here. So look at the first 8A video I did to sort of do this, and we'll talk about this here in a little bit. Okay, in this parallelogram right here, we're going to find all the values of all these variables, u, v, w, x, y, z, and a, b, c, d, e, f, g in that order. So quickly, I want to go over some of the stuff. You may need an extra sheet of paper to write all this stuff down just because there's a lot on here and I didn't give you guys a ton of space, so feel free to get some paper out the back of the room. Okay. First thing that we know, okay, is that it's a parallelogram. We're starting with u, okay? So I have a u plus 36, a 2u minus 9, and a negative u plus 1. And over here I have 2v plus 2. Okay. Now we know that the negative u plus 1 is equal to 2v plus 2. However, different variables, so, we can't do anything with that yet. Okay, but we also know that the u plus 36 is equal to negative 2u minus 9. Okay, so there's an equation where we could solve for u. All right, so there we can get our number for u. All right, once we get our number for u, okay, now we can go back to this thing where, negative u plus 1 equals 2v plus 2. And we could plug in our u number here, all right, to get a number there to equal to 2v plus 2. And now we have our u, we have our v, and we take care of all of our sides. Okay, so that'll take care of all that. So that's our u and our v. Next number is w. Okay, now this is where people got confused a little bit. We have to think sort of outside the box a little bit. So here we have this triangle right there where we have three angles, 9w minus 18w plus 22 and 76. Okay, well, the rules for a triangle are always the rules for a triangle where the angles add up to 180. Okay, so I have, these three angles add up to 180. Now, if I take away the 76, okay, I'm left with 104. All right, so what we know is that the 9w minus 18 plus the w plus 22 is equal to 104. Okay, so that's 9w minus 18 plus w plus 22. My finger's kind of sloppy on the screen, equals 104. Okay, so that'll get us our w. Okay, now just for the sake of doing this here, I'm just going to do this one for you guys because I want to make sure we get this so we're not stuck. So when we solve all this out, we're going to end up with like 10w plus 4 equals 104 when we combine like terms, which is going to make w equal to 10. Okay, w being equal to 10 is going to make this angle here 72 degrees, and it's going to make this angle up here 32 degrees. Okay, now going back to unit 3, the angle 9w minus 18 being equal to 72 is going to make this angle here equal to 72. Okay, because they're vertical to each other. And now what's going to happen here is that the z plus 107 is going to equal the supplement of 72. We've got to subtract from 180 because they form a line. So the z plus 107 is going to be 108, and then the 4x plus 12 is going to equal 108. Okay, so now what we have, now that we know this angle 72, we can find this angle, we have this angle, but we can find x setting it equal to 108, finding y setting it equal to 72, and finding z setting it equal to 108. Okay, now I'm just going to do z because z is going to sort of help us in our next thing right here. Okay, so we have z plus 7 is equal to 108, or z plus 107, excuse me, equals 108. So z plus 107 equals 108, which is going to make z equal to 1. Okay, so z being equal to 1 is going to make the 5z plus 7 equal to 12. Okay, so with the 5z plus 7 equals 12, okay, so the 108 plus 12 is 120 degrees, which now we have a triangle here. It's going to make that 7a plus 4 equal to 60 degrees. Okay, so the 7a plus 4 is going to be 60 degrees right there, so we can solve for a. Now, going into solve for b, b, c, d, e. All right, now we got to look at what we have here. Okay, here I have a 60-degree angle and a 76-degree angle, so this whole big angle J is going to be 136 degrees. Okay, making all of angle H equal to 136 degrees. All right, now what that's going to mean is that, okay, so since consecutive angles are supplementary, all of angle I is going to be 44 degrees. All of angle K is going to be 44 degrees. Okay, so now that we have all this, now we should be able to set the b plus 15 equal to some number, right? We get a triangle, okay, and then we can sort of do the same thing down here. We could set the 16c equal to some number, okay, knowing that these two add up to 44 together, okay? And then, we could set the e squared plus 12 equal to some number. All right, and we can use this triangle here to set the d squared minus 61 equal to some number and solve for all those. Okay, so that's sort of the rundown on how to do the parallelogram right there. And so hopefully you guys can get all those things. You're going to get some negative numbers in there, but you're not going to get any decimals. All right. So rewind the video back if you need to. I know I did some of these together with you guys, but I'm just trying to give you all a little bit of a hand on how to get this done, and you'll notice some stuff once we sort of figure all this stuff out. All right. So on this next one here, I'm going to go ahead and clear my screen. Pause the video, go back if you need to, because I need to pause my screen here. Clear my screen, I should say. All right. So next thing we have ABCD, which is a rhombus. Okay. So here's what we know about a rhombus. I have these sides all equal to each other. 90-degree angle here, right? And I know that this angle, these two angles equal each other. These two angles equal each other. Okay, they're half of that, and ditto for these two angles here and those two angles there. All right. So the perimeter is 6a minus 2. Okay. Now, if we know all the sides are equal, we can make all the sides equal to a plus 3. Because it's a rhombus. Okay. So we know that the perimeter is 6a minus 2. So 4 of the a plus 3's equal to 6a minus 2. Okay. That gets you your a. All right. Plug it in there to solve for b. We should be good there. Okay. Again, pause the video if you need to, but hopefully all that should be pretty clear and pretty simple. Okay, to solve for c. Now, in a rhombus is the same thing as any parallelogram or whatever. The diagonals bisect each other. Okay, so c minus 7 is going to equal 1/3 c plus 3. All right. And there's a couple different ways to get rid of fractions. One thing I told my other class that I think is best is let's multiply, by the denominator of the fraction there to get it out. So 1/3 c plus 3. So if we multiply both sides by 3, that cancels the fraction out. So we end up with 3c minus 21 equals c plus 9. So we distribute 3 through this, just to cancel the fraction out. Okay? Then you're going to plug c in. Now what's going to happen is to find d, we're going to use this triangle right here, and we got to use the Pythagorean Theorem. Okay? So this is the hypotenuse. Okay? I'm going to call the hypotenuse, I'm going to call it z. I just don't want to get confused here. So let's call the hypotenuse z and call this y and call this leg x. Okay? So we should have a number for this, which is our z, and we should have a number for this, which is we're going to call our x. Okay? It's a squared plus b squared equals c squared. I'm just using x, y, and z because I don't want us to get confused with the a's and b's in this thing. Okay? So we know Pythagorean theorem that, z squared minus x squared equals y squared. Okay? So we're trying to find the y here, which is the d minus 3. Okay, you should have a whole number for z. You should have a whole number for x. Okay, that's these two sides here and here, right? We'll get y squared. We'll square root it. You know, once we're all done, and we should get a whole number for this. Okay, so now we can set d minus 3 equal to that number, and we could also set the negative 4e plus 2 equal to said number. Okay, again, everything should be a whole number in this bad boy here. All right. Okay. Pause the video if you need to. I'm about to clear my screen up here again. All right. So now we just got to find F, G, and H. Okay, so here's what we know. We know angle D is 5F plus 6. And so we know angle B is 5F plus 6. Opposite angles being equal in all parallelograms, right? And we know it's cut in half. Okay? One half is 3F minus 7. The other half is 2G minus 7. So we know we can't combine those things. What we know is that 3F minus 7 is half of 5F plus 6. So we know that 2 of the 3F minus 7 equals 5F plus 6. Okay? So find F. We'll plug it in. Okay? And we'll get a number here and a number there. Right? And then we'll find G. Okay? Lastly, we have this triangle here. We know we have a 90-degree angle there. We should have a number there for the measure of that angle after we plug in our F. Okay? And so minus all those from 180. So we'll make the h squared minus, or h squared plus 21, excuse me, equal to, you know, whatever 180 minus 90 minus this number. Okay? And then we can sort of go from there to find h. Okay, that's how we'll do the rhombus there. And again, we should have all whole numbers here. Follow the rules from the top of the thing, and you know, get all those letters there and figure out all those sides and all those angles, which you should do. All right, last one. All right, so we have a rectangle here. We want to find variables I through s. All right, so we know the perimeter of the rectangle is I plus 73. Okay, that's all the sides added up. Now remember, we have different variables around here, but we know that this side is equal to this side down there. And this side is 2i plus 20, which is that. Okay, so we know that if we have 2 of the negative 5i minus 1s plus 2 of the 2i plus 20s is going to equal I plus 73. Okay, so you'll find I, you'll plug it in, and then, you know, you'll be able to get K, and then you'll be able to get J. All right, so that'll get you I, K, and J. Clearing the screen. All right, I, K, J, L, M, N, O. So next we're at where are we at here? So next what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to sort of go out of order a little bit. We could find P. Here we have a triangle. Okay, so the triangle right there, those things are going to add up to 180. It's a triangle. So that'll help us find P. Okay. You know, next thing is again, you know, these, because the diagonals are all congruent to each other, there, and there. Okay. what that means is that whatever this angle is going to equal this. So you find P, you'll plug it in and set that number equal to r squared plus 3. All right. We also know that this whole thing is 90 degrees. All right. So this thing, subtract this angle from 90, set that number equal to Q plus 10. We could also set that number to negative 10s plus 3. All right. Last thing to find M. What we're going to have to do is probably make a right triangle here, which is what we have. Okay. So this thing is 3m plus 13. This thing is 3m plus 13. All right. So this whole diagonal is going to be 6m plus 26. All right. And now, we don't know what that is. Okay. So that's going to sort of just be, our x right now. It's our hypotenuse. However, we should know what this angle is up here, the 3p minus 8. We have a 90-degree angle, and the k is our opposite. There's our adjacent. So we'll do a little trig. We could do sine or cosine to get this side right here. Okay, it'll probably be division, something divided by sine or something divided by cosine, depending on whether we use a or the o. And from there, we'll do a little trig to find our hypotenuse. All right. So that's a quick rundown of 8A. Hopefully that'll get you guys going and get you guys working on this. And, I'll be back Friday if you guys have any questions. Hopefully this will kind of get you guys rolling. And y'all take care and have a good day.